What's up, it's Jim from On Point Samples, and in this video I'm gonna explain everything about mid-intro punches like this. You can use them for psy kicks, reverse bass kicks, mid-intro kicks, I don't know, anything. They're very fat, in your face, and they always hit hard. I've struggled with making them, and I know other people are struggling with that as well, so that's why I wanted to make this video. I'm gonna use serum. You wanna use envelope 2 and 3 to your advantage and have them go to the coarse pitch right here. This will determine the pitch of that waveform. And we're gonna select analog BD syn wave. Depending on the octave you choose, you can get different tones and different variations of that kick. The basic premise of this video is that you'll generate this sound, pull it through this, normalize it, and pogo it. And make it shorter, you know? That's the basic idea. We've generated that sound, and there's much more to it, but this is how you kind of want to get to work. Let's dive a little bit more into serum. So what you can do is play around with the shape of these envelopes. But generally you want to have a punchy part where it's like very punchy. And that's like envelope 2. You can enable that harder like this. You can, open it up more. And then you can make this longer. And you find a nice balance. And then we'll go just immediately render that out and see what happens based on the envelopes we're making. That's why I already did the pogo trick, So like, let's maybe add this even more and make this longer, and we render that. As you can see, you get very lasery tops if you make envelope 2, the snappy one, open up a lot. And then if you make it shorter, and then you render it out, you get more of these like tonal and clear kicks, So understand what the envelopes are doing in combination with the pogo. So I like to add it like, somewhere around this range. Add it here, pogo it. And then you have a nice lasery, snappy punch, but it's also, a little bit low. Then you need to realize that different octaves are gonna result in different kicks. If I render out an A sharp in this sense, I get that. If I render out something more of a C, I get this. It's lower. And that will greatly affect your kick. If you're making a kick in A sharp, you should not really worry about you using A sharp because you're gonna pogo it anyways. But it's nice to maybe use a high kick if you're making a high kick, a high punch if you're making a high crunch, because then you can kind of blend in the face properly without kind of ruining the kick. So it's important that you then also use the shape. So when you're rendering this out, make sure the shape looks good. Now we have this. Let's go into serum and play around with a few more things. The noise section has a really nice attack kick folder, but you need to make sure it's on one shot. And now, as you can hear, you can enhance these kicks to get a nice click immediately. Something like this might work if you want to make something more hard techno-ish, because you get dirt in the punch. So let's maybe render this out. As you can hear, it's dirtier and you get more variations just by adding a click. Same goes for this. There you go. So after playing around with the noise and the waveform and the envelopes like this, let's try this. This one's pretty nice. Then you can add distortion. So play around with this. As you can hear, you get more of the, maybe add this here, a little bit more envelope too. You have this tube distortion going on. Render it out. Obviously, you're going to get a more saturated punch because you added distortion. So that's another level that you can add to these punches. I'm not going to add too much. But I do like these because they have a little bit more power and a little bit more harmonics in them, I guess. The last thing you can do, which I like to do sometimes for laser kicks, is that envelope 2 can go to the FM here. Make sure that the randomization is down. Now you can play around with spectral waves. Render this for... play around with it, because this will really... As you can hear, you can get different punches. I've been playing, like, obviously I'm doing this from scratch and just playing around, but This is pretty nice. And then, you know, different sounds. And if I think the pogo is nice, but it's too short, you can make this a little bit longer. Envelope 3 gets a little bit longer. See what happens. Different kick. As you can see, I could just play around for hours on end, but I'll just keep it clean like this. And then we're just gonna render this out. Let's finally get into the mixer. So why is this a little bit of a longer tutorial? It's because I really want to show you that different blends get different kicks, and that way you understand what you're doing, and that subtle changes will make a completely different punch, which is something you need to learn because you need to know what type of stuff you want to make. So get it into the mixer. We're gonna grab this thing and put it into the mixer right here. I first obviously want to add an inflator. If you don't have an inflator, use the Fruity Wave Shaper. Soft clipper in front as well, because we want to squash the volume. And then add an EQ. First of all, add more of a click, because those are nice. And this is where you kind of get to shape the tone of the kick. As you can hear, there's quite some character in here. And maybe you want to control the bass. If you boost it like this, you get obviously a very clipped kick, and like this you let the mids breathe a little bit more. So this is pretty good. Usually removing the low mid bass right here also opens up the kick sometimes. I think I want to go back in Serum, by the way, and get rid of that distortion, because it's a little bit too overdriven. So that's pretty good. I like it. That's pretty good. Sometimes when you get a little bit of a too clipped sound like this, you know, I squash it, and you could open up the effect of the inflator and it kind of gets rid of that dirt, you know? Sometimes, not always, but it's a nice thing to think about. That's how you clean up your kick and make sure that it has a lot of power. One plugin you can always add is a disperser, and this one, I'm not smart enough to explain what it does, but it's gonna add a little bit of a nice, you know, movement in the bass or in the punch. It's gonna disperse it or something. But as you can hear, it gives it that bouncy effect, that like, especially handy for laser kicks. If you focus it on the range here, you really affect the punch. If you focus it here, it's gonna give you a bigger crunch. If I, for example, render out what we did here, disperser, Edison, you know that I get this longer kick right here, right? I can pull this into FL Studio again, place it there, and play around with it again, you know? And then you get a more tighter kick. I can add it into the same channel again. Remove the disperser. And now maybe it's a bit too high, so I take down the pitch. And now you can see that you can create endless kicks. Keep doing this, you know, and then the disperser again. Render this one again. I mean, why not? You get your kick in here, and then you do it again. More of a psytrance type kick, you know, and get it through the processing again. So as you can see, if you could just keep processing the kick, putting it through Pogo and adding it to the processing channel, you can create endless kicks. It's great to have. So make sure to download this template for free. I'll include some free kicks. You can grab it on our website. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day.